Right.
So your position is that 800,000 babies will be
Hmm.
unalived this year in
Due to
abortion.
abortion, right?
That's your position.
Well,
What
that's
would
not my
you
position.
consider?
That's just a fact.
Okay, fine, whatever. We're going to call that mass infanticide, right? Mass infanticide. That's the mass killing of children, correct? By
Okay.
your by your position.
Well, I'm saying that
You agree.
800,000 children are killed daily by
Not daily,
abortion. That
in a
is
year.
my claim, and that is fact.
Yeah, you mean in a
And
year.
you're saying, well, you think that's infanticide. Okay, sure.
It's just the definition of the word, right?
But that's what you're saying. I understand. Now what?
You agree that's what it is?
Do I agree that it's infanticide? Do I agree that by killing 800,000 children, babies are dying? Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'm asking you, knowing this, you know where this is occurring, you know exactly where it's occurring. It's occurring every day. It's occurring right now as you speak on here, gibbering on TikTok about it.
I'm talking
That's an
about
adequate.
abortion. Abortion is what I'm personally talking about. I'm talking
Well,
about
that's
the
what it is,
murder of
according to you.
800,000 babies due to abortion in the US every day. Yes.
Okay, great. So we know it's occurring. That's what you say is happening. I'm
Well,
accepting.
I'm not saying it's happening. It's you could clearly do your own research and see that this is just a simple fact.
Uh,
I'm
incident.
not the one who's making it up. It just is a fact.
Knowing this is happening, knowing exactly where it's happening, knowing it's happening right now, is talking about it on TikTok or opening a clinic somewhere an adequate moral
We're
response?
talking about 14,000
Yeah. Okay.
prenatal
14,000.
and
That's fine.
postpartum clinics that help for mothers who are
Yeah. That does
expecting
nothing
or
to
are
stop.
currently pregnant. So we're not talking about one clinic, we're talking about 14,000.
How is that an adequate moral response to the unaliving of babies?
Well, how is it not?
No more questions for you, bro.
It's obviously not. Babies are
Why?
still being unalived.
Right,
Open
right, which
all
is what we're
clinics you
fighting to
want.
stop. So
The babies are
how is the
because
fact that we're fighting to give these mothers care that they deserve, what how is that not
let me
a
make this a
just
little bit
response to
clearer.
that?
Let me make this a little clearer. So, suppose you see a
No
pregnant
hypotheticals.
mother about to unalive a baby. You're right there in front of this situation. Do you have a moral obligation to act to stop it?
If you witness a murder firsthand,
Yeah, it's right there in
I
front of
would say so. I would say if you witness a murder, you have a moral obligation um,
you. Okay, so
to
now
say
we've
what's right.
established the principle. You have a moral obligation to stop the murder of a baby.
I would say you have a moral
Instead of it
obligation to
being
stand
right in
up for
front
what's
of you,
right, is what I said. I said you have a moral
so
obligation to
fine.
stand up for what is
Instead
right.
of it being
Yes.
right in front of you, now you know exactly where it's occurring. It's occurring in a building that you can identify, and you could actually be at that building.
And yeah, and this is why we protest at actual clinics every day.
Okay, but you do nothing to actually stop it.
We do.
So
We
you
do
know,
everything we can do within our legal right to do so. That's why we're fighting
you don't
for
think
the
you have a
rights of
moral
children as
obligation.
opposed to sitting at home like you are and saying, no, it's okay if it's
No,
inconvenient
I'm
to
not
you. That's why we're standing up.
moral
That's why
obligation.
we've opened
So you're
14,000
limited by the law.
prenatal clinics, right? That's why we're trying to help and stop this infanticide,
So
as you
a
put it, right?
woman is walking into an abortion
Thank
clinic.
you. Thank you for your time. I don't understand why you don't want to acknowledge what I'm
A woman
saying.
is
I
walking
think you're trying to
into
make a
an
point in your
in front of you. What is your moral obligation to act? Just let her walk in and kill her baby? I don't know what happened here or where the host went, but with regard to this argument, if your position is this we could analogize this to say concentration camps. If there were organized concentration camps in the United States where people of a certain ethnicity were being sent to be gassed and unalived, what would be an adequate moral response to that situation? Would it be to go on TikTok and talk about it and gibber about it? Would it be to open information center explaining why concentration camps are a bad idea? Would it be to stand outside the concentration camp with a sign saying, hey, what's going on in there is wrong? Or would we, or would a society, or would a person who has a moral compass understand that they were required to actually take action? Maybe that action would require some risk. You might actually have to risk your freedom. You might have to break the law in order to prevent what's going on inside the concentration camp from occurring.
Huh? Huh?
But morally, the moral ought is obvious. You should risk your freedom. And people of right mind and right moral character should organize and do whatever is necessary to close the concentration camp. It can't be allowed to continue for another minute, because what occurring in there is so heinous and so wrong that merely talking about it or asking a politician to stop it is not an adequate moral response. This is something that is so obvious to me. I don't understand how you can take the position that mass infanticide is occurring and then spend your time on TikTok going over your talking points and your hypotheticals and your reductios and think you're doing something adequate to the problem at hand. So suppose you see
No hypotheticals.
about to unalive a baby. Now, of course, abortion is health care. Of course, abortion is health care. Of course, a woman has bodily autonomy.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And has control and should have control, and the state should not intervene in decisions about what occurs inside a woman's body. This is obvious. Moral ought is obvious. You should risk your freedom, and people of right mind and right moral character should organize and do whatever is necessary to close the concentration camp. It can't be allowed to continue for another minute, because what occurring in there is so heinous and so wrong. This is something that intuitively people understand.
No, it's totally made up.
And why it's a 70-30 issue at this point in the United States. Why Republicans are being destroyed at the polls.
We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale.
Over this issue. Why they can't run away from it fast enough or hide from it. Why they can't why they refuse to talk about it. Or why Trump refuses to talk about it. Because he knows it's a losing issue.
It never happened. We made this one up. It's fiction.
That most people intuitively understand a woman's right to choose and bodily autonomy is the correct position.